everyone. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. So, if you're watching on YouTube, if you could please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you're listening on Spotify, you can always follow us there. Every like and share and subscribe can help our channel to be seen by many more Stargate fans. So, we really appreciate it. And then we also have all of our socials listed up on the screen right now if you wish to follow us there. Okay, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. And to all the Stargate fans out there, we would love to hear from you and chat with you on our show. So if you're interested in doing that, please reach out to us via any of our social media platforms or email.
We were talking the last couple of days about doing something, I think, a little bit more positive. And because the last couple episodes, we did this 2-universe deep kind of dive into specific things that were a little bit more serious. And so here we were, right? Like yesterday, I think I messaged you and said, how about we do a lighter topic? And I think we were both like, yeah, we'll think about something throughout the day. Because I think I was dealing with something and then I had to leave. And I was like, when I get back from my training, I'm sure like by then an idea will come to me. And it's really funny because when I was training too, actually, I was thinking, oh yeah, I really probably should think about this, like what we're going to talk about in the podcast tomorrow. And I realized like maybe halfway through the training that I was just kind of like my mind was like checked out. Like sometimes when you go to training, like your body just you basically just only focus on the training and your brain checks out of things. Sometimes during a training you can kind of like focus on other things. And for people that are watching don't know us, I'm a figure skater, so I was training and I said I would come up with our podcast idea when I got home. And then I got home and I opened my computer at some point, and it was actually relatively close after I got home, and I saw YouTube, and then I saw this live video that said Stargate is back. And I clicked on it because usually, we've sadly seen a lot of these where they say, oh, Stargate's coming back, but then it said something in the description like, oh, we're back on live. And so I actually thought that I was kind of wrong with the first interpretation, and then maybe they were talking about some kind of Stargate like fandom group crew, because there are a lot of them coming back on live together. And I didn't really I looked at it very quickly, and then I saw, oh, I'll watch this later, I'll earmark it, because right now I can't watch a YouTube video, but later I'll check this out. And then it was funny because a couple hours or maybe even an hour and a half later, you wrote me and you were like sending this video like Stargate's coming back. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And I was like, oh man, I actually should have just stayed in the live and looked at it for a second, and then I would have been like, oh yeah, it's actually coming back.
Oh my
So
gosh,
now we have something we're talking about today, right?
I know. How funny is that too? Like it was just like ironic that we're both trying to think of something more lighthearted, and then there's that news, which is awesome. And like it's just like really funny because it's like I was really freezing, and so I wanted to take a bath, and when I take a bath I tend to listen to music and things like that. And so I was trying to decide, do I want to like listen to something on YouTube or listen to Spotify or whatever. And then I had seen like a glimpse of it saying that they were live, but then I also saw like I can't remember if there was also that other video, because they took a clip from that live and also had like a shortened section that wasn't the live, but I think from it, where it was like talking about it. But like I wasn't sure what it was, and so I just kind of like dismissed it. But then part of my mind was just like, wait, they're saying Stargate is back. Wait. So like then and so like I wanted to tell you, but then like because I was going to take a bath, I'm just like, no, I can't tell her yet because I need to take a bath and it'll just be awkward. And so the whole time I was in the bath, I just kept like thinking about it, thinking, what was that? What was that? I swore it says that Stargate is back. What's it talking about? And I couldn't just like relax because I'm just like, what is this? And then especially when I'd seen that it was like from like Dial the Gate and Gateworld combined, like I'm just like, oh wait, this is like something big, because like they wouldn't report something like unless it's like a set thing. And so then what I did when I got out of the bath, then like I decided to go on YouTube and see like if there was anything else, and I noticed there was like a shortened clip, and so I'd started to watch that, so I knew like if it was like what they were talking about, because I figured with the live they maybe would have already talked about it and we're talking about other things. And so like I went on the shortened clip and it was like this whole thing where they're talking to Brad Wright and all the other writers and like announcing this. And then I just watched like a few little bits at the beginning of that and then started texting you about it. And then when you acted like you had seen it, I'm like, what? And you never told me. What the
You know,
hell was that?
it just shows you like how traumatized we are as like Stargate fans, that we see something like that and our first instinct isn't like to believe it, right? Like it's funny
Yeah,
that the first instinct when you see something like that is, you know, that must be some kind of title that means something else. Like it can't really mean that,
yeah,
right? Because for years, right, they've led with, oh, Stargate's coming back. And then or maybe you think like, okay, they mean it's coming back, but it's not a show, it's like some like a book is coming out or a video game or something like that. But
yeah.
what, a series?
Yeah, because I feel like we've always been like traumatized, like fandom of traumatized people. Because
Yes.
it's like everyone so badly wanted this. And it's like, in any like chat you go into, whether it's like on Facebook or Discord or wherever, it's like you always have like people talking about like, oh, I heard like, they may be in talks about this. And like, do you think they're actually going to do it? Is it going to be a reboot? Is it going to be a continuation of the story? Like, what's it going to be? And like everyone gets excited. And then like gradually it's like crickets. You don't hear anything about it again. And everyone's just like, oh, like that's not happening. Like, and so yeah, it's just like, and I think like too, like after I had told you, then shortly after that, we also had like other like friends and stuff that were like texting us, I think, that were also saying it around the same time,
Yep.
about like, oh my gosh, look at this, you guys, and it's just like crazy. And then like I started noticing it in like the Facebook groups that I follow, and like everyone's just like, oh, what, like you could tell like the ones that like watched it versus ones that just like saw a title and didn't listen yet. Because like some were just like, oh, what do you think about this? What's it gonna be? Like kind of like doom and gloom about it, like thinking it's not real. And then others that were like really excited. And so it's just kind of like funny and cool at the same time for like people to be like so surprised by it. And yeah, just it ends up, I mean, we'll be talking about it, but it ends up, I think, being something that, or hopefully will be something that is exactly what the fans are actually wanting in the first place. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
exciting.
exactly. So yeah, basically we're responding to the big news that there will be a new Stargate series. I mean, there's no, as far as I know, and anything I saw, there's no really clear when. And of course, this would be, it sounds like it would be sometime in the future. So not like immediate, but it's still, it sounds more legitimate. Obviously, like if you go to the live, I mean,
Yeah,
I wish I would have like taken half a second to actually look at all the people in the live, like, and then I would have been like, oh, Red Right is there. But I kind of like, I
yeah,
opened it so quick and I didn't have time to do anything, like to watch anything. So I just saw it and kind of went, oh, I'll earmark this for later. But I didn't really, it's so funny, like you don't, those things like somehow don't register. But so it is,
yeah,
and one thing I was happy to find out, it sounds like it is more like not a reboot, it's more like a continuation,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
which is something I'm very, very happy with, because my always my fear with these things is so many things now do go the reboot route. And that's like, I mean, obviously sometimes those things are like fun to watch once, but I usually don't overly, I don't overly enjoy that
well,
kind of thing.
and what I think is like amazing is that, and sorry, I will not know any of their names. Like we can probably put this in the description because I am terrible with remembering who is who. The only name I ever remember is Brad, right? But I don't remember anyone else's name. I think there's also, and I don't want to say like the wrong names of people that are involved and maybe they're not involved. So I'll refrain from that. But what I do know is that the people that they mentioned that are involved. So um basically the guy that was the writer for Stargate Atlantis, he's like the head of all of this and the showrunner. And then Brad Wright will also be a producer. the other writers will also be a producer, and executive producers. And then they also even have the people that did the movie, which is crazy. Like they're all joining forces, which is like amazing. Like I think that's so cool. Like it's almost even better, I think, with all of the people involved than I could have imagined. Like there's
Yeah.
like, and I was also reading that like the guy that's gonna be um like the showrunner and the head of like the storyline and everything, that was the writer for Atlantis. I guess um one of the things like that he used to deal with back in the day was like he'd come up with ideas like for special effects and different things that like they just didn't have it in the budget to do. And now like Brad Wright was saying like because like he's kind of taking a slightly different position by being a producer on this, that he's not needing to say no to that guy anymore, and there's actually like more things now available in the budget that they're really excited to be able to take advantage of using like special effects and things that this other guy used to envision and stuff previously, with stuff that now they actually have like the technology and the funding to be able to do it. So it's like I'm really excited. And then I really like how do you feel about they were mentioning that obviously it's going to be a continuation, but they're making it that it really is a new like show of it. It's going to have new cast. There may be some familiar faces in there. None of that's like confirmed yet because it's like super pre-production. They don't have any cast. They don't they there's a lot that they don't have put together yet. But like what I thought was really cool is how he mentioned that they're basically making it so even someone that has never watched Stargate, you know, even potentially people that aren't even super into sci-fi, it's also geared towards that audience as well, so that if they started watching the show and liked it, they aren't required to have seen all of the other things before it, even though it's a continuation of all of that. um I think it's not so heavily linked into those storylines that they wouldn't know what's going on. And that it's, of course, then just an option if people are into it, that then they might be interested in watching, SG1, Atlantis universe, and all of that, um, which I think is really, really cool. And I really like that idea. And I think it's a smart choice to kind of take that route, especially considering me and you, like your kids have loved Stargate, the old stuff. And my daughter, who's 14, she's currently watching SG1 with me and loves it. So I feel like, if they're staying in a similar vibe of how they write things, which I think they would, I think it seems to be very, I don't know if the right term is marketable, but it seems to be like very well liked by younger generations as well.
Yes.
And just a new audience, regardless of age, just, people that haven't maybe seen it before. And so I think that that's really, really cool and like a great idea. So like, I don't know, like, do you agree with that? Or is there certain things that you would have liked to see carried on from previous stuff that would be more of a thing in this new series?
I feel like my interpretation is that there's probably stuff that will be carried on or reintroduced, but introduced in kind of a way that it's like Doctor Who, for example. It ran and then it stopped and then they kind of restarted it. I've never seen any of the old Doctor Who, but I started watching the new one, and you can watch the new one, and because the way they present everything, I mean, yeah, the lore is the same. Like he uses the same TARDIS, like the whole concept is the same and everything. And like there is stuff that definitely carries on from the previous series that you kind of do learn as you go along. But I think overall, like, yeah, you can start watching it right there. And if you've never seen any Doctor Who, it doesn't really matter. Like me personally, I've never seen any of the old one, but I've seen almost all of the new one. And so I
Mhm.
kind of imagine it's similar to this, like maybe they keep this concept of like Gateworld and many of these things, but I think you can present it in a way that people can pick up quite quickly on things. And
Yeah.
probably there will be some, I mean, I would imagine it being presented in a way that if you're a long-time fan, there's probably stuff that you might get more than some other people, kind of like you get more during a rewatch. But
Yeah.
if you're not and you just turn it on, you can enjoy it. And I think that aspect of it is really, really cool. Um, I think what's really interesting with this one is they have this opportunity to, like, I always imagined if they did a Stargate again, that it would at least start back on Earth, like how SG-1 was, like a new
Mhm.
one, like back on Earth. But because you've already opened the door to Atlantis and you've opened the door to, say, like, actually now finally potentially concluding what happened in universe. Just so everyone knows, we're not completely done with universe, but we are open to the fact that, I mean, everybody knows it's a cliffhanger, so everybody knows that nothing is resolved because it was canceled. So
Yeah.
that we know.
Yeah.
We just don't know what the cliffhanger was. So don't tell us in the comments, but uh that's something I would be very open to, is maybe there are some universe resolutions. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. And I think that's maybe where being able to do those things that they couldn't do in the past, maybe it could be something where you're able to traverse all three kind of in a similar at the same time. And that would be very, very cool to me, um,
Yeah.
personally. I don't know how you feel
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I imagine the same thing. I think you described it really well. Like that's like what I imagine too, is that they put things in there that longtime fans are able to understand, and maybe it resolves certain cliffhangers and different things. Um Yet if someone's never seen it, it still all makes sense. Like I'm just like so excited because it's like Stargate is like one of the only shows that I can think back to that has such amazing writing from all of the people that have been involved in it, that like you just know with all of them being involved, regardless of if their role is slightly different, um that it's going to be really good. Like I would really be surprised if people weren't happy with it. I mean, of course you always get people that aren't happy with things, of
Yeah, there's
course,
people
but
are unhappy with everything. Like there's some people
but
that's just like they live
yeah.
to be unhappy with things, I swear.
Yeah, yeah. But I think too, when I started watching part of the live. I didn't watch all of the live, but I think one thing that David Reed was mentioning was, he really hopes that fans are open and willing to support this in a way of thinking about the new fans that will come onto the show, and support the new fans and be open to receiving the new fans as well, and it just kind of being like a very like friendly and supportive environment, I think, of this, because I think it is really important that when it does come out, that people are watching and people are supporting it, and things like that, for it to be a success, and for Amazon to continue it. um you know they probably go by numbers of things and how many people watch it and how successful it is, and so that will probably be a determining factor of if it continues. um so yeah, I don't know where I was going with that,
Yeah.
but I
No,
started
no,
rambling. I forgot where I was going.
I mean, in that sense, I completely agree with you, and I think it's very smart to market it in more of a. And I mean, I don't know, like when you really think about it, like actually, I feel the Stargate as it was first brought out. I mean, I know it premiered, if I'm remembering correct, on a sci-fi channel or something, or was it actually on mainstream TV? I can't
I
remember.
have
I
no
only know
idea because
that
I didn't watch it then.
I saw it also after the fact on the sci-fi channel. Like, so it
Oh,
used to
okay.
kind of, I think, show reruns. So it was like after the fact. But I will say, like, I mean, even then, like even the earlier Stargates, I really feel they would already be something that the average person could enjoy, even if they weren't specifically into science fiction, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I've said before, I was not into sci-fi before Stargate. Like, yes, I watched sci-fi. Yes, I'd watched like Star Wars and thought it was all right and liked bits and pieces of that kind of thing. But at the time, like I feel like I'm much more into sci-fi now. Like I love that genre of stuff. But back in the day when I first started watching Stargate and you had introduced it to me, that was one of my concerns was like, oh, I don't know if I will like it because I'm not really into sci-fi, which is a shockaroo that I ever said that because I feel the complete opposite now. Like I'm shocked that I ever said that, but like that's honestly how I felt at the time. And so I was really unsure. And like also the other thing, this is kind of jumping from that thought for a second, but the writer that will be I wish I remembered his name, the guy that wrote for Stargate Atlantis and will be kind of like the head of this whole thing and also the showrunner. I can't remember his name. Um, but anyways, with him, I believe he's also the same person that wrote the show The Ark.
Mhm.
And I also never knew that Brad Wright had wrote The Travelers. And
Ah,
like The
yeah.
Travelers, I think I can't remember if I had seen that one and really loved it at one point. I don't think I ever saw all of it. But the Ark, oh my God, I love that show. And it's always funny because I caught like the Stargate references that they put in there. There was certain like things
Oh,
that they would
nice.
say. And
Nice.
I noticed like sometimes when they write different shows, there was like little references they put here and there regarding characters or Stargate themes that it's so funny. And so it's like when they write things like that are also so good
Mhm.
and stand out, and I never initially knew that they did those things. Like I'm just like so excited for this because clearly like they're able to continue to write really engaging like content that is really good. So yeah. But how do you think, like I'm trying to think how much time has passed since Universe and since we don't know
Okay.
how anything ended there. Because I'm really actually curious technology wise, what would have happened from that time up till now, since it's been so long. Like, what would they have found? Like, what would like other Stargate teams have found during this time that could be like a big deal? Like, I wonder if there's going to be certain things that they'll automatically have access to on
Yeah.
Earth that like is like new tech that they didn't previously have when we were watching the other shows.
That's completely true. I mean, it's like what, 13 or 14? I can't remember if Universe was 9 to 11. It must be 9 to 11, right? 2009 to 2011. Just gonna check real quick because I think there's a couple different ways this could go. Yeah, 2009 to 11. So it ended in 2011. So it's been 14 years. Presumably it'll be closer to like 15 by the time the show airs. But it's interesting because there's a couple ways this could go. I mean, one is that between then and now, and this actually helps the premise of the show, there is some discovery made. And because of this, they have some new technology, something interesting to do. Who knows what kind of like ancient cultures it might have something to do with when you think about a lot of the other Stargates, they usually link something to some ancient culture. So it could be anything. I mean, there's so many things that were still untapped, I think, in the universe. So they could have made some kind of massive breakthrough that then propels the story forward. I think the other option is that something happened for 15 years and they were not able to do something.
Oh, yeah.
And like, for example, you could have the circumstance in which like because of what happened with the Destiny, they closed down the program and it was like put on ice until some new threat comes in 2025. So that is another
Yeah.
scenario I could see. And I honestly, like, I have to say, I could see that going either way. And I mean, of course, I could
Yeah.
also see the show as something where, yeah, you have some cool new technologies that you find along the way that maybe become minor plot devices, like, oh, look, we can use this, this gun that can like turn you invisible only when you're shooting it or something. I mean, that's really random, but you know what I mean? Like little things that maybe are
Yeah.
useful in specific episodes. I'm sure that could be. But I think in terms of major things, I could see it actually going both ways and both being equally interesting, actually. I don't know
Yeah.
what you think.
Yeah. And I kind of wonder too, like, sorry, I know I'm kind of jumping around all over the place, but this is what happens when I get really excited about something. My brain like jumps from like, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? And so I was just thinking like in terms of like, and again, sorry, it's like bouncing to a different topic of what you just said, but like what you just said, yeah, I totally can see how it could go either way. But like with casting, I'm really curious, like what they are going to do with casting, who's going to be on the show, because part of me kind of feels like it could really benefit to have it be, and I don't mean like familiar faces that are coming back. Clearly, we would know them. But part of me kind of almost hopes that it's an unknown cast, like it's completely new actors that are not known yet. Um, because I kind of feel like SG1, besides Richard Dean Anderson, if I remember correctly, none of the other casts were like widely known. They were kind of unknowns at the time and then became widely known because of being on Stargate. Um, even Atlantis, like Jason Momoa, like now he's a massive name and he wasn't known like that back then. So it's kind of like, I think it would be really amazing since there are so many wonderful actors out there if they actually give people, like, if it's more about who they truly feel is going to fit the role as opposed to getting some sort of big name on there. I think that could actually really destroy it. Nothing against
Yeah.
like bigger named people, like they deserve to be there too. It's just that I feel like then it would be less about like this is the story, this is the new series, and more about, oh, it's led by this person and this person's
Yeah.
in it. Like I kind of hope that they actually give new unknown people the positions, like the main roles in this, and then it could be kind of similar where like with the other Stargate shows where like they would have like known people come on eventually, and like the guy that played Woolsey, and how there was a lot of different like crossovers with Stargate actors, things like that. I mean Star Trek and different
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
um but like at first just genuinely have it be like unknown, or if
Yeah.
they're known, they're not like super super famous yet.
Yeah. I mean, my feeling is I mean, they were all like, I guess in Stargate they had to be like slightly older. I mean, I think um Michael Shanks was the youngest, and I'm sure he was younger than his character. Like his character realistically must have been in his 30s, like at the beginning of
Hmm.
Stargate, because he got a PhD and then was in academia and left academia. So I think they were kind of like this sort of like TV show character actors. But I think like as opposed to like taking Hollywood names, I would definitely agree
Yeah.
with that, especially because the chemistry
Yeah.
was such like this important part. I wouldn't want them to go unknown. Like, I mean, I understand there's probably this like impetus of like wanting it to be uh maybe like a cool younger cast that's just an SG team, but I think there's this aspect where something so cool about both Atlantis and SG1 and some of the characters also in universe. I know some of them weren't, some of them were, but I consider this a different character dynamic. But specifically Atlantis and SG1, everybody on the teams was like so advanced. Like they were the top, literal top. I mean, McKay was like the top of the fields. And
Hmm.
same with like Carter. And so I think if you went too like new, you couldn't realistically cast them in those roles. um
Yeah.
I think they dressed Michael Shanks and made his hair in a way that, I mean, obviously he wasn't mid 30s, but he could pass for it based on his attire and everything. And so in that
Yeah.
case, I think I would like that they keep that aspect, just because to me it's much more interesting when they're proficient. But I also
Yeah.
like that, maybe there's like it was really cool to have some of the newer recruits It's just I can't imagine making a
Yeah.
show only around new recruits. Like I think that would be like, but I think
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I
finding people that are good character actors would be
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
really awesome.
exactly. That's what I mean. Like I don't mean like it has to all be like a younger cast. That's not what I meant. Like I just meant that not like sometimes like because like I compose like for a lot of like indie films and stuff.
Hmm.
And sometimes like when you see them trying to pull these things together,
Hmm.
sometimes the director and writers are really trying to find that billable name, that name that is
Yeah.
the known person that they can tell everyone this person is on this show or this movie. And that's how we're going
Yep.
to get the funding and everything. And obviously, they've already received or will be receiving funding. So that's not their goal, right? So they're not necessarily needing to have like a big name person. And by big name, I mean big name, I mean like a highly recognizable name that is known in Hollywood, um, that, would be about their fame bringing people in. And I don't think they would take that approach. I really don't. But like, in terms of like age range and stuff, of course, like, I think it needs to be a blend of what makes sense, like you said, for those characters, like that would have clearly like studied for many years and different things in their if they're experts in their field. Like, oh, one person that would be amazing, I think, to have in there is the one that what was her name? Was it Haley? She was like the recruit. Was it
Yes,
Haley?
to bring her back, like bring, yeah,
I would
Cadet
love
Haley.
because I think she's now like in real life. I believe she's in her 40s. I think like mid 40s. Um, and like so imagine if you think back to her character and like all that she may have learned and done up to this point and now
That would be
potentially, I mean, because
crazy.
she was
Yeah.
so smart, right? Like
Yeah.
she like saw things that Carter didn't see. And so like oh my God, I would love to have her on. Like
It would
because
be
she
so
was
cool
such a good actress too.
it would be so cool because she's kind of like a weird personality love child between O'Neill and Carter, because she like has Carter's brains but a little bit of O'Neill's willingness to like a little bit of his kind of like, sarcasm and attitude, but also like his willingness to bend the rules or do things in times when it's needed. Where, I mean, Carter did get that later on, but I think she has that streak a little bit more. So it's like kind of this weird love child of personalities between the two. So
Yeah.
it'd be super
Yeah.
cool to have her on the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, and I was just looking up her name on the show was Jennifer Haley, and the actress's name is Elizabeth Rosen.
Mhm.
Um, oh my God, I would love for her to be on. That would be so cool because I feel like she's known, but yet not that wouldn't be like
Exactly.
not in that way. Like, and then it kind of ties in past stuff without really having to pull
Yep.
in past stuff too much. Like, so that would be so
True.
cool. I would love to see her there. Um,
I'm thinking some of the other ones, like obviously I wouldn't mind if any of the main cast came back. That would be really cool, of course. I hope they do bring back, or at least in some way bring back, at least one person from Atlantis, one from Universe, and one from SG1. Just
yep.
because I think that could be really cool. Like, I mean, obviously a typical one from Universe that a lot of people probably want to know how he's doing would be Eli.
Yes. Oh my God. And can I just say like a fan moment here? Like I've been like commenting on David Blue's, that's his name, right? David Blue. I've been like commenting on like his posts lately and he just always like responds to everyone's comment and I always just like fangirl out. Like every time like he hearts my comment, I'm like, "Oh my God. Oh my God, David Blue just hearted my comment." And I get so excited. And like he had actually posted about the news with Stargate too. Like he had posted about
Aw,
that.
I'll have to check
Um
that out.
and like I just get like so like tickled like when like I see that like he's like commented to like something I say or heart it or whatever. And I'm just like, oh my God. Eli.
Yeah, that's so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, I'm curious. I'll be interested to see if he, because presumably some of them, if they were involved or are they're thinking of asking them, they must already know. There is a show I do know one time that they did a revival, and one of the actors, like, he wasn't upset, like he wasn't asked to be on the show, but he was very surprised that he wasn't informed that they were doing the
Oh,
new show.
really?
And so it'll be interesting over the next few days, like, to hear who was kind of already knowing and who wasn't, because you might find that out. I mean, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
had
I
the
mean,
what were you saying?
I was just gonna say I think they really had to make sure it was under wraps. So I
Yep.
think if people didn't know, I mean, granted, you know that people are probably going to keep their mouths shut, but maybe they just don't want to risk it. Because I couldn't tell too, even like with like when they came on Gateworld and Dial the Gate, um, or maybe it was just Gateworld when they were all together. Regardless, it's all this, connected. But like I think like even like with Darren Sumner and David Reed, I think they mentioned how they had to sign an NDA, and I think they didn't even know why they had to sign an NDA. And
Oh,
when they got on the Zoom chat, they didn't even know that all those writers and people were going to be
yeah.
there, I think. So like
That's so
I
crazy, right?
don't know if they meant the one that they recorded or if they meant that
Yeah,
they had met prior. I think what they meant is they had met prior to that recording that we saw, but like
yeah.
they didn't know like fully what it was. And then
True,
when
true.
they realized that other people were there and then they were told, because I think maybe they knew a week in advance. So I think everything was really kept under wraps. Um, how do you feel about it being on Amazon Prime? Like, does that matter to you? Does it not matter to you? I feel like some people maybe don't like that it's on Amazon.
Oh, is there like, I'm look, I have to be honest, like, I'm not really in the know about like different streaming things. So like,
Yeah.
is it like people are mad that it's there and not Netflix, or
I
like,
don't know. I just think sometimes some people can have a love-hate relationship with Amazon in general. Um,
okay.
and
That makes sense.
I mean, I'm personally happy it's on Amazon Prime solely because I have a subscription to that anyways. Because I like using Amazon because Amazon Prime, I have a subscription to it, and I'm hoping that what they don't do is have it that you have to then get an additional subscription. Because like they used to have it where initially when we first started our podcast, like, and we started rewatching, I had to get a second subscription from Amazon Prime for MGM Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like connected to Prime, and that was like an additional fee. Um, but then they ended up not showing Stargate on it anymore. And then I switched to Now TV, and then they eventually got it back. So I think my understanding is it's not on MGM Plus or whatever it's called, but it is on Amazon Prime, which I am happy with because I already have a subscription and I love using Prime for getting free shipping on Amazon. That's what I mainly use it for. Because you can get like the next day shipping and the free shipping, and then you do have like the movies and shows that show, but usually there's nothing on there that I actually think to watch. I usually watch things on Netflix and stuff, but definitely like if that's where the new Stargate series is showing for sure, like I'm fine with that. It's just I was just curious because like I know like people sometimes don't like having a million different subscriptions, but I'm sure like people that really love the show aren't gonna mind. Hopefully they don't like up the price just because they know a lot of people that are gonna want to watch the
I mean,
show.
to be honest, in my case, like, I don't have any subscriptions. Like, I have a Prime, but I don't know if like it's the one. I mean, I know, I think like Vala watches some things, but I don't know if it's the watching one. It's mostly just for the, like, you get some discounts and stuff on the Amazon. So I have that, but I don't have
Yeah,
any.
that's all connected. So it's all connected with watching stuff too. So you're able to watch anything that's with Prime on there. Like that's how they have it work. So
But I have zero subscriptions to any kind of watching things. I don't have a
oh my
Netflix. I
God.
had my mom's Netflix for years. We had Like, I think my ex was sharing his Disney Plus with the kids for a while, but we have nothing. Like, we don't have any subscriptions. So to me, like, Stargate is something I would buy a subscription for.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
I would probably, when Stargate is over, I would unbuy my subscription. So I
But
would
I
buy
mean,
it
if
for
you already have, yeah, exactly. If you already have like Prime, then it would include it. Unless they do some sort of weird thing where they add it onto a second subscription, which I hate when they do that. So I'm hoping they don't do that. I'm also kind of sad that because of the nature of how series formats are now, there's probably only going to be like 10, maybe 12 episodes per season, which for me, like I loved when it was like 24 episodes. Like I
yeah,
loved
that was
that.
so cool.
Like I know for the actors that's exhausting and they probably prefer like the 10 episode format for like their sanity. But as a viewer, in a very selfish way, I really miss like the massive pile of episodes. So it's like I kind of hope that maybe they do a little bit more than the normal. Like for example, like on Disney Plus, I watch different series on there, and most of them go to about like 10 episodes for their season. But every now and then you get a series where like they'll go past that. And there's like one that I was surprised like was up to like 15 or maybe 18. And I was like, oh, that's really cool, because like normally they only go anywhere from 8 to 10 episodes. And so to me, especially when it's like 8, that feels too little.
Yeah.
Um I think when I was watching the live when they were talking about this, they felt like it could be a good thing in the sense that they pick their best material to use for those episodes, so it's just going to be like really good. Um but at the same time, like since we have experience of knowing like how good like the writing is on the show, I'm just like, oh, I hope they do more than 10.
I mean, I think there's a couple bonuses. One, I think usually when they do episodes now, they don't format it for commercials, so it's actually longer. So they're 1 hour, right? Usually the episodes that are supposed to be 1 hour are really 1 hour. And if they're supposed to be 30 minutes, they're really 30 minutes. So that aspect
Yeah.
is really cool. Of course, it would be cool if there was more. And I mean, I think in terms of filming it, I mean, it's possible the actors get less money if there's less episodes. So I'm sure, like, in that sense, like more episodes could be better for them too. It's like it's difficult
Oh,
to know.
right.
Like I don't know, I know
Yeah.
in some they were paid per episode. So I mean, I think in that sense, like, yeah, of course it's stressful, but I mean it's also maybe a bigger paycheck. I don't know. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of that. But um I mean, I think the one difference between now and maybe then is that like every episode, like you said, has to count. They don't have this situation where every once in a while they have a week where they have to make like a filler episode. The downside to that is some of the filler episodes of Stargate were some of the best material. So
Yeah.
I hope they like find a nice balance of maybe like adding one or two more per season and still like allowing some of that, non-main, non-primary plot stuff to like seep in, because in Stargate sometimes that was the golden juice.
Yeah. And I was also thinking too, and like I said, apologies, my mind is truly all over the place today because I got so excited about this.
I'm like, damn, I wrote this whole like directive of the questions we're gonna answer. We're like not answering
I'm
in order at
sorry.
all. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's perfect.
But like one thing I was also just thinking, and this shows how like bonkers my brain is right now because this has nothing to do with it. My brain went back to like thinking of like potential like cast members that could show like again, and I was just like, oh, like I wonder if they would have Teal'c and like a whole like not where he'd be like a main member, but like I mean I would imagine maybe he's back with like the Jaffa, and there's like a whole like thing there where maybe he leads something, and I could imagine them having like an episode where like he's in it for something to do with the Jaffa, but like um
Oh yeah. And I'm sure
yeah,
the
it's
Jaffa
just kind of
rebellion
yeah.
totally fell apart because of politics, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
It's
and it's
probably
just
something
kind of
really
like
screwed up now.
Yeah, you know what's funny too is it'll be really interesting to see like because I feel like Stargate does so well with kind of bringing like questions of like your morality and bringing questions of like right and wrong and political stuff, and they did that a lot within the time period previously that I kind of wonder not that they would get like political, but like I kind of wonder like if they'd bring up certain like topics that are kind of like things that people have went through today or are seeing today within the government and things like that, but like bring it in a very like Stargate way, like bringing attention to things that it's like not direct but like in a very kind of like roundabout way. Like I'm curious if they'll bring certain types of topics up based off of what has happened into the world up to this point.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine, especially since they're really, if they're keeping with this kind of like Stargate being kind of attached to the military and it being like existing in our reality, I think it would be impossible not to. They did, and actually all of them extremely well. And I think they did this really good job of using metaphor in a way because they kind of parallel it with, outside cultures, like outside, like they would, you'd go and you'd basically meet this society that literally has the problems you have, but they're encountering it from a different viewpoint. So it's kind of, it basically hits you in the face of something that's structurally wrong with you. I
Yeah,
also appreciate those
yeah,
episodes that kind of highlight like I really like when they highlight these things of, that there are ways that we might also perceive as wrong that from somebody else's perspective aren't wrong. And I think actually, like, to me, the kind of fascination I would have is that now, I mean, whether we like to admit it or digest it or not, we are consistently faced with propaganda. And whether it's propaganda of something that we like, or propaganda of something that we hate, or propaganda of something good or bad, we are faced with it on a continuous basis. Like almost everything we read in some way, whether it's right or wrong, is like a propaganda. And
yeah,
I'd be interesting to see if that aspect is addressed. And then also, like, I don't think, I mean, as much like I love the Knox and I really believe in the Knox, and probably a lot of people watching even right now might go, the Knox are wrong. I think that some society like that, people would not be able to digest in the same way today. Maybe in 10 years they would. But that's a kind
yeah.
of thinking that I think um, people have kind of been really conditioned right now to be against. And so, yeah. But what do you
Yeah.
think in that sense? Like, how do you feel they might touch on those issues? Or
I mean, it's really hard to say. I don't know. Like, but I just have a feeling that they probably have some ingenious way of
yeah,
touching on those issues that I can't quite brainstorm on my own. But like, so I definitely feel like they probably will. I mean, I think that's like an excellent point to bring up about how we're always like there's constant propaganda around all the time. I didn't really think of it that way, but you're so true that like yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if they didn't write things that made us think. That's the whole part of Stargate that makes it so awesome is nothing's in black and white and there's always
yes.
like questionable things. What I was also thinking too was like again, my brain is ping-ponging around. But I was also thinking how much especially in SG1, they really had a lot of amazing child actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember us before talking about some of these child actors on our previous episodes and mentioning how, great they all were and how amazing it was of Stargate to find such talented like kid actors, or teen actors for specific storylines. They were just so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wonder like if they'll do anything like that with storylines, that they'll bring in like a one episode kind of thing where someone comes in and like one thing I was thinking of that would be kind of cool just to like seem like it would be kind of a full circle moment in terms of who this is, but like not anyone that was ever on Stargate before, but Rachel Luttrell, like, or I think I always say her last name wrong. I think it's anyways, you know who I'm talking about, who played Taylor. Her daughter is an actress and is a very,
Oh,
very good
cool.
actress. And I believe she's like preteen age, I believe. And I think she's currently on like a TV series. So like, but like, I think it would be so cool if her daughter was like a character in like an episode of Stargate, just as like a full circle moment. Like, I think that'd be so cool.
No, that would be super cool. Actually, I would love that. I would love
Yeah.
that. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Her daughter's name is Ridley. And I also think her son maybe also was into acting too, I think. But I know I've heard more about Ridley, and I think that would just be like, I wonder, that'd probably be a cool moment for Rachel Luttrell, like to kind of like have her daughter be in an episode of Stargate. I think that'd be cool.
That would be
Um,
super cool.
but yeah, I just kind of wonder in terms of like cast, like in terms of like, like more like an episodic kind of um episode if they do that, what like type of people they'll have on, but yeah, I think it's all really exciting. I would imagine like if they managed to pull it all together for them to actually know for 18 months and be able to announce it now, they probably pulled certain things together in terms of
Yes,
funding and different stuff, um potentially even with crew that they plan on using. So I imagine that like once they start auditioning and finding the cast, like it's possible that they could film in 2026 and then release it in 2027. I could see that happening.
which would be
You
amazing.
know, so I think like especially since I mean they did also mention that they plan on really having a fan, they're letting the fans know everything in terms of what's going on in the process. And so I
Oh,
think they're
cool.
setting up like social media things for all of them, like the writers and different things, to kind of
That's
keep people
fantastic.
in the know. And they plan on showing like concept art and different things. So they plan on, I think, maybe because it might take a little while, they plan on bringing the fans along with them as they're going through this process, which I think is really smart because something that they didn't have prior was like social media. And
Yes,
now that they have social media and, I imagine, they really want the interest to be continued. And like, granted, of course, Stargate fans are very loyal and love this show and are going to support it. But to get that excitement going and keep it going and get new people interested, I think it's
yeah,
really important that they have an element of social media where they're constantly talking about it. And I think especially Stargate has always been so amazing to their fans, like, both like the actors that have been
totally.
involved in it, and you know um it's always been very fan based where like they're always in communication with the fans, that I think it's so cool that they plan on trying to keep everyone in the loop as much as they can. And I think that will just kind of keep everyone more excited about it, so then if you do have to wait a little while, you still feel like you're kind of getting something. I
Yes,
imagine,
exactly. Exactly.
yeah, I imagine that they will maybe announce the cast too as they are nearer the time maybe of things. Maybe they'll start announcing who's been hired on what. Like for example, things that have kind of done that before is like uh for example, Reese Witherspoon, she has a production company called Hello Sunshine. I think that's what it's called. And they do a bunch of films and stuff. And when they were going to be doing like um oh, what's it called, where she played Elle Woods, what's that called again, where she was the
Oh, Legally
lawyer?
Blonde.
Legally Blonde, yeah. They were doing, I don't know if it was a series. I think they were doing a series. And so they had put out this nationwide um casting call. They kind of, allowed people to kind of be involved in it
Oh,
and like
cool.
send in their self tapes. They would, and then when they finally picked someone for Elwood's, they surprised that actress by making her think it was just another meeting. And surprised her with telling her she got the part, and they showed that on social media. So
Oh,
I think it would
cool.
be really cool if they did something like that with Stargate, to kind of have it be something that is a little bit talked about in terms of the casting process, and showing maybe people's self tapes, or showing like not showing their self tapes, but like maybe allowing that to happen, allowing just whether people have an agent or not, like sending in your self tapes, like can be kind of cool, though I can imagine they would also get overwhelmed with a lot of people. But yeah, I just think that's a smart idea that they are going to be using social media. So yeah.
Totally. They should like uncover some keynotes. Like, like they could like uncover some
Yes.
keynotes from after that would be super cool. But yeah, no, like the
Yes.
whole thing is very amazing. I am like super stoked. I think everybody is super stoked. I think people were originally maybe not believing, like
Yeah.
probably, and then it's like starts to sink in, like, oh, it's actually really happening.
Yes.
I'd be curious to hear from other people. Like, did you believe it when you saw the headline, or did you also question, wait a second, it can't really say that, can it?
Yeah. Or did you feel like it was like your Christmas present that you got early?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and just like any of the things we covered, where we're talking about casting, and do you think that, what enemies may be continuing on in the series and stuff, like anyone's thoughts would be amazing to see, because then it will be kind of cool to look back and see
Oh,
like if anyone
totally.
was right on certain things. So
Yes.
yeah.
Drop it in the comments. Be correct before anyone else.